Hello and welcome back, everyone. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Thank you very much for joining me. It has been a while since I shared an update on the Brics block developments. There have been several important events, several developments, which we will incorporate into today's video. We'll talk about the announcement regarding the new currency, a Brics central bank. We'll talk about a group of Asian countries effectively ditching the dollar, and several other important points that I would like to bring up. Let's start with an entire group of Asian countries recognizing the need to trade in their local currencies. This is a big one. The Association of Southeast Asian Nations is focused on promoting local currencies and is now set to discontinue using the US dollar for cross-border trade among its members. Their combined GDP is approximately $4 trillion, so it is quite significant. And I would like to add here that nominal figures like combined GDP or total annual trade numbers or something else, that is not the point here. The point is the trend, because this is merely the starting point that we're seeing. So for 10 developing countries, the combined GDP of $4 trillion might not sound like that big of a deal, but it's really the trend, the shift away from the reserve currency of the entire world that we're talking about. Think about it this way: we're seeing developing countries choose not to rely on the United States dollar anymore as they deem it too risky. The alliance includes Vietnam, Thailand, Cambodia, Indonesia, Brunei, Laos, Malaysia, Myanmar, Philippines, and Singapore. The countries fear that the rise in the U.S. national debt, of the militarization of the West, and escalating conflicts will negatively impact their local economies as well as their prospects of development. So therefore, the group made the decision to focus on strengthening their national currencies and developing closer ties with their partners. In addition to that, any Western sanctions will now have a much smaller impact on these economies. This brings us to what you are likely waiting for, what you're interested in, the most interesting part to you, the Brics currency. Is there going to be one currency used by the bloc members? As we know, creating a completely self-sufficient, standalone financial system in order to disengage from the West's ability to exert its dominance via sanctions and other types of economic measures, that is indeed the main goal for the Brics bloc. Inherently, by default, once this new mechanism is in place, and it will be soon from what I can tell, the US dollar will be substantially weakened as the demand for it will decline globally. In a recent interview, South African ambassador in China, whose name is Siyabonga Kwele, admitted that there is progress being made towards a common Brics currency. He once again said that the excessive dependence on the dollar is what's driving this work. The Brics currency initiative is discussed during the Brics finance ministers meeting in May, with the details to be revealed later this year in October during the big summit that will be held in Kazan in Russia. So this year there will be 9 member countries participating, and new members are expected to be announced there too. In a previous video, I shared the details of the Brics blockchain technology infrastructure. You may recall the development of that technology is primarily driven by Russia and China, who already have similar infrastructures in place. If you haven't watched that video, you will find it linked in the description below. I do think that it is very important because that is going to become the basis of this new financial system. So it will eventually become the payment settlement platform for the entire bloc. Sources at the Brics New Development Bank highlight that the bloc is looking at the prospects of creating a central bank for Brics that would eventually have the responsibility and, of course, the authority to issue a common currency for member countries. So there's going to be a central bank that will coordinate not only the currency issuance eventually, but also, and I'm presuming here, aligning fiscal policies of the bloc's members, very similarly to how the EU tries to more or less coordinate these types of policies among its members. Recently, Russia's Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov voiced his support for the creation of the Brics central bank as well, so it is likely going to happen, and I'm assuming that we will hear the big news, the announcement, later this year and just several months from now in October. The fact that the Brics is working on an alternative financial system does not really mean that the bloc will ignore trade opportunities with European countries, for example. Many people seem to think that there's going to be some type of a trade war or hostility. Even if there is, I don't really think that it's going to come directly from the Brics bloc members, because the Brics bloc, and this is very important to understand, it is not hostile towards trade opportunities with the rest of the world. The bloc wants to expand and it wants to develop, and is likely going to seek cooperation on those terms, of course, that are convenient to the bloc's members, and that is going to be the biggest difference from now on. The Brics is likely going to seek cooperation with Europe, as was expressed by China's President Xi Jinping during his meeting with European leaders in May. For the EU, trading with the Brics members would be extremely beneficial, although the United States is unlikely to approve if those transactions are not settled in dollars. But states such as Hungary and Serbia, for example, will definitely greatly benefit from developing ties with the Brics. And judging from Xi Jinping's recent visit to these countries, that very well may be part of their plan moving forward. Now, the fourth development that I would like to discuss is the increased attention on African countries and the increased involvement of Russia and China in the continent. The head of the New Development Bank, Dilma Rousseff, stated that the Brics is ready to invest in Africa to help it address its biggest challenges. This was said during Dilma Rousseff's trip to Johannesburg not too long ago. It goes without saying that this is a big win for Africa as a continent that's been historically colonized and drained of its resources, exploited, and never really received much in return from the developed world. This is a big development. The continuous poverty did help contribute to extreme disparity and certainly played an important part in how unstable the entire region has been. So Rousseff said that the bank will finance physical and digital infrastructure projects in Africa, and it will focus on educational ones. Here's what she said. The New Development Bank has the potential to be the leader of projects that address the most urgent challenges of African countries, she said, pointing out that although Africa's share of foreign direct investment rose to 8.8% of global foreign direct investment in 2021 from just 4.9% in 2010, a decade earlier, it can and must rise much more. So hopefully this quick update was interesting and useful. Let me know in the comments below what you think about these developments. Do you think that a central bank that will cater to the needs of the Brics bloc is a good idea? Let me know in the comments below. As always, I would love to hear from you. Thank you for taking the time to watch the video. Subscribe, like, and share if you found it interesting, and I'll see you back here tomorrow. Have a good one.